Hi everyone and welcome. My name's Jen. I'm from Work Wonders Careers and I'm going to be talking today about feel-good LinkedIn strategies. So if you're not familiar with us, we help people land new jobs and thrive at work. And today we want to help people who are maybe struggling to get traction, whether you're a job seeker or you're maybe new in town or you're a business owner. We're hoping to give you some tips and strategies so that you can use LinkedIn without feeling weird or salesy or spammy or just like you don't even have a plan for it. So if you have any questions, you can let us know. I have not done an Instagram Live in a very long time. Hi Carrie, nice to see you. And so I'm hoping to do kind of weekly chats here and plan on taking feedback and ideas from all of you. Hello, thanks for being here, guys. So if you have ideas for little weekly chats, that's what I'm calling it, very professional, feel free to email me at jen@workwonderscareers.com and let me know your thoughts on what you'd like me to cover, or you can just DM me here on Instagram. So that's the plan. I'm going to talk about feel-good LinkedIn strategies today, and I have a plan for next week, but after that, I'm feeling pretty flexible. So I'm happy to take ideas from all of you. So I also have my notes here, so I don't talk. Hi, Tina. Oh, it's so nice to see you guys here. It's always nice to see friendly, familiar faces. So LinkedIn isn't just a tool for job seekers, like I shared. You can use it at all stages of your career. I use it as a business owner, and I use it a lot to help build relationships. So I know a lot of people tend to kind of look around or hear stories about people who just kind of seem to generate a lot of interest from recruiters on LinkedIn just by virtue of being there. And that is one strategy to really optimize your profile for different kinds of searches. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit today because LinkedIn is kind of a search engine. Like, people will be searching for things you may be able to do, and that may be part of your plan. But I actually think it's more important to optimize our expectations and behavior and strategy overall for our goals and find a way to really leverage LinkedIn. So that's what I'm hoping to be covering today as we get started. So when I start working with clients, I always kind of just ask, do you have a LinkedIn profile? And almost, which is a yes or no question in my mind. I'm just checking to see what tools they have. And what's funny is, like, I often get the very same response from people, which is, yes, I have it. I'm there, but I don't know why. Or I just log in once in a while and scroll. I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. And so what I want to do is kind of riff off that a little bit today and share some of the things that I think are really valuable. Because quite frankly, logging in and scrolling and being mildly annoyed and put off and unsure and uncertain isn't super helpful to your goals. So I want to give you some very easy ways to kind of use the social networking aspect of it and to build those relationships, which I think is really what's great about it. And if you've ever been to a webinar, if you've worked with me at all, and some of you here certainly have, you know that I'm not a big proponent of a silver bullet. So this really isn't about like LinkedIn fixing your business woes or your job search or your career slump. It's really about how to work it into your overall plan. So it's absolutely going to require a little bit of elbow grease from you, but I think it's really well worth it. So let me dive into the tips here. And feel free, for those of you who are here, feel free to drop in questions as we go if you want clarification or to talk through some of these things. So the first thing that's really important is to get clear on your purpose and to manage your expectations on LinkedIn. So if you are looking for a job and you consider yourself a job seeker and you're logging in and kind of scrolling or searching for jobs, you might want to think about some other strategies and goals that you can have there. Again, I'm going to emphasize the relationship piece of LinkedIn and less about the optimization part because I think that that's where there's real long-term value is in building relationships with people. So if you are a job seeker, your purpose might be to, meet 5 people. Your goal might be to meet 5 people who are hiring managers or in roles that you'd be interested in having at different organizations within your city or within the range of where you're applying for. That would give you like 5 people that you could be connected with and ask to have informational interviews or conversations with, where you could yield real information that could really change the trajectory of your job search or help you hone in on certain pieces during your application, which I think can be really important. So So think through, if you're a business owner, you know, a lot of times, like what I do is I spend time cultivating relationships with people who refer clients to me. So it doesn't have to be that you're constantly chasing clients or constantly chasing recruiters on LinkedIn. If you focus on the relationships, you have a lot more flexibility on what you can do there. And I think that that's really important. So if you're not really clear what your goals are, what you'd like your goals to be, like take some time to really think through that, write those down, keep them in front of you, because I know it's very easy to just go and scroll, but scrolling isn't really what we want here. And remember, this isn't a silver bullet, and we want to think about LinkedIn like we think about applying for jobs online or any other part of building a business, right? Anything here that we do related to career happens over weeks and months and not days and hours. So I think that that's really important to remember as you're kind of going through this. All right, let me see if I can get this. No, there's like, I can't get rid of these stickers on my screen here. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing with them. Hopefully you guys can see and hear me okay. So here's the next thing that I think is really important, and I see a lot of clients start to get really picky here, which is you want your profile to be complete. People seem very concerned about how their profiles look because there are definitely a few people on LinkedIn who have like really snazzy, catchy, eye-catching kinds of profiles, but truthfully, the profile that works best is a complete profile. So a couple things to remember. You can log in and change this information at any time. So you don't have to be committed, you can experiment. But for both I think in terms of building trust and legitimacy, which is what your LinkedIn profile should do for you, it should reinforce the messages that you're putting out there about yourself. It is also a search engine. People are searching, recruiters are searching, potential customers and clients are searching. So you want to make sure that it's complete because completeness is part of what factors into whether or not you show up in people's searches. So here's what I mean by complete. Mid and senior professionals, those are the folks I primarily work with, should absolutely have a nice looking photo there. If it's not a professional headshot, it shouldn't be a selfie. You should have your headline filled out, and if it's your job title, that's totally fine. You don't have to have some like magical, snazzy, branded language there. In fact, for search purposes, it's really best that you kind of think through what recruiters might be searching for, or what other folks might be searching for that you want to show up for, and kind of optimize around that. So that's really important to just keep that in mind. Sometimes the snazzy language isn't going to be great for searches anyway, so you want to be clear about your skills and your title if you think that's what people are searching for. The other thing that I don't see people taking advantage of is having their full work history up to date or their job descriptions fully fleshed out. That's more search terms that you're missing out on. It's more experience that you could be sharing with people. And so that's all really important. And a complete package is important, again, because it helps you show up in searches as when your profile is complete, and it helps build that kind of trust and legitimacy, which is super important to initiating and building the relationships that we want to move your career forward. So I think the other piece around this that I'll say is a professional summary is really great, and I really encourage people to have one, but I think what's also important, that is also a place where people get hung up a lot. So if you're really moving towards having a professional summary, and you're feeling a little stuck around that, definitely do some writing based on your experience, and where you'd like to go, and then try to convey important skills and experience, maybe using themes. You can take a look at different profiles and see if there's a structure that you can kind of use as a framework for thinking through what you want to share there. But this is a place where a lot of people get hung up, and it's definitely better to have something complete than fancy. Fancy is really nice and can work really well too, but most people would really benefit from just having a complete profile here. And again, this is about feel-good LinkedIn strategies. So at a foundational level, you need to be proud and satisfied with what your profile is saying about you. It's going to be really hard to be responding to people and reaching out to people if you don't want to draw any attention to yourself. So when I'm working with clients, we want to make sure that the baseline level is that people feel comfortable sharing. And like I said at the beginning, this is all very easy to change. You can change things, and things can evolve if your search evolves or your goals evolve. So don't feel like you're wedded to this for forever. It's going to be totally fine if you need to change things down the line. So I also want you to ask yourself, what do I need to be successful? So if your job right now is just to research people that you might like to meet or might like to speak to, and you're feeling really nervous or apprehensive about reaching out, maybe it would be helpful for you to take some time and craft a sample message, like a template message that you can be customizing and sending out, but not having to start from scratch every time that you need to be sending some of these requests out. I find samples and templates really, really helpful. We have some on our website. So if you go to workwonderscoaching.com, you scroll down to the Get My Resources button, you can click there. We have a library where you can access some of these resources. And that can be really helpful because you do need tools to get started, right? If you're scrolling and researching, you're gonna wanna start taking some further action at some point. And reaching out to people to have those conversations is usually really key for a lot of people. So create a template message for yourself, make a spreadsheet. I have a lot of clients who really love their spreadsheets. I have one too in Airtable where I kind of keep track of my interactions so I can remember who I talked to about what, and really get organized and give yourself some infrastructure so that you can stay on top of this process. I want to talk about getting social on LinkedIn and actually sharing content here. So we all know that sharing original content can be time consuming. I know it's time consuming to produce things like articles for LinkedIn, but it's also really not necessary. So there are some shortcuts here that we can take. If you have original content and the time and interest and capacity, then go for it. But a lot of times what I find is that people struggle to share their work, period. And so that's really kind of, I think, a good place to start, is not going necessarily straight for the articles, but using that status update box to start sharing things. So here are some things you might consider. You can share events, workshops, conferences that you are attending. You can shout out speakers that you saw. You can tag them. You can tag the colleagues that you went with. You can share accomplishments of your friends, of your team, of other folks in your company. You can share your own contributions. And this isn't something you have to do every day, but if you're talking about building visibility and building relationships, if you could do this every week, wouldn't it change the sort of traction? Wouldn't it change your overall LinkedIn experience to be able to tag friends and say congratulations, or tag colleagues and that sort of thing? If you really want to share, and I encourage you to get comfortable doing this, if you really want to share your contributions, I think a really great phrase is to say, I'm proud of ... what we did, what we learned, what the impact was. I'm proud of is a real sweet spot that doesn't really at all sound braggy or salesy or pushy, and you can give people a little behind the scenes, and maybe you even could share a little bit about what the team overcame in order to kind of get to the result that you're so proud of. So I'm proud of is a little framework I like to use with my clients who are struggling to kind of take control over the work that they've done, and that's something all of us could probably do a better job, is really articulating our value and sharing that widely. So remember, people are on there to talk and hear about other people's work. So I encourage you to kind of get comfortable doing that. And one way to do it, you don't have to talk about your own work all the time. You can share other people's work. I see a lot of people doing a good job sharing people's volunteer work, right? So it's not even just that their professional day job, but maybe someone has posted an article on Medium and you want to share that, or maybe someone has has a side project, so you want to share that. So there's lots of ways to go in and break up the cycle of scrolling and not knowing what you're doing, is to really engage with the people who are there and are sharing their own updates, sharing their own content. I also love tagging people at events, letting people know that I really enjoyed their talk. Oh, my mom's here. Hi, Mom. My mom needs to update her LinkedIn profile, so I hope she takes notes here. So I want to get to my next point, which I think is probably where I spend the bulk of my LinkedIn time, which is to connect and reinforce relationships that begin in real life. So that means, it might sound basic, but fundamentally you want to make sure that you're actually connecting with people that you meet. So if you're going to conferences and you're Hi, Nana. Make sure that you're following up with people who are on, who you might be meeting, but you can also be in touch with people that you don't necessarily meet. So I've had people actually reach out to me when I was a panelist or presenting at a conference and send me a message to let me know that they were going to be at my talk. And it's cool for me because I get to see people that I already recognize from LinkedIn, and we have gotten to connect offline and chat a little bit. So there's all kinds of ways that you can use use LinkedIn to build and leverage those in real life opportunities. And that's, they're mutually reinforcing processes, which can be really great. I also really like to be in touch with people like references or former colleagues or former classmates on a semi-regular basis. So once we move, we've talked about how you can share, what you can share in terms of status updates, but you can also do a lot of work here in the messaging portion of LinkedIn. That's where I spend most of my time, is actually responding to messages there. So I encourage you to be in touch with people that you would ask to be a reference, former colleagues that you enjoyed working with, that sort of thing. So I always try to do this like right before the holidays or Happy New Year, something like that, and then halfway through the year, so that you're staying in touch. LinkedIn is networking, and a lot of times all of the obstacles we experience trying to get people to network totally carry over into LinkedIn. You feel like you're asking for something, you feel uncomfortable, and so a good way to kind of get in front of that is just to be in touch with people more regularly, and LinkedIn makes it stupid easy to do that with the messaging function. So get into the habit of just saying like, Happy New Year, hope you're doing well, wishing you the best, how's the new job, and then checking in over the summer too, right? So it's a good way to stay in touch. You could say a quick note, here's what's up with me, hope you're doing well. It doesn't have to be long, it doesn't have to be exhaustive at all. So keep that in mind. It's really important to reinforce those in real life relationships using LinkedIn. Let's see, did I forget anything? Oh, one thing that LinkedIn makes really easy here is they send you messages or prompts, right? Like you can see so-and-so had their work anniversary. And then they provide those little like auto text things. You just click a button and it says congrats. So I actually use those prompts quite a bit, but I always try to send an original message that isn't just like congrats. I mean, there's not even like an exclamation point there. It's pretty basic. So that's the baseline, is you can just use the auto text options, but you can also say like so-and-so has a new job or a work anniversary, and send a private message that's like original and brief and is genuine, right? So that's a way to feel good about what you're doing on LinkedIn. I don't know about you, but I mean, it's fine to click a button and have it say congrats, but I like something that's a little bit more exciting, especially given the kind of work I'm in. We're happy about work accomplishments. So think through, like, can you send a really nice message when you see that people are getting that? That goes a long way to building relationships, building trust, and it makes it easier to reach out if down the line a conversation or an introduction is something that person can help facilitate. So I want to talk a little bit about making requests. So we've talked about connections, we've talked about communication and kind of building the foundation of our profile so that we can feel comfortable reaching out. And I want to give some tips for actually making an ask of people on LinkedIn. We're not asking for jobs, we're not asking for clients, we're not asking for gigs when we show up on LinkedIn, typically, right? And I know there's some exceptions to that, of course. We're building relationships. So you really have to think through and think of all these people as a long-term investment, and think like, how would I want to be approached? Like, how would I want people to ask me this? So here are some things that I think go a long way. If you're making a request for a connection, and it's someone you don't know, or the connection isn't obvious to them, do send a short note. I think that goes a long way. Like, hey, I really enjoyed your talk at the conference, look forward to staying in touch. Or, hey, it was really great to meet you the other night at the workshop. I hope we can stay in touch. That's just a really simple way to be polite and clear and to remind the person. If it's really someone you've never met before, you can say, hey, your experience looks really interesting. I love the work you're doing. Would love to keep in touch, right? Like, it's really straightforward. Pretty simple. And again, you can create some templates for yourself so that if you start to get nervous and overthink it, you can just kind of use some sample language here. Keep your messages concise. Editing is your best friend in a lot of cases, and especially on LinkedIn. A lot of times when I see draft messages that clients are sending, they're really long. They're like, here's everything about me, and then at the end it's like, here are 5 things I'd like to know from you, and it's just a lot of content. So what I always say is, like, think about what would be easy to say yes to, or what would be easy to respond to. And if there's tons of questions and they have to really parse through a lot of content, that can be really hard. So we want to make sure that we're making it easy for them to respond respond back to you. So keep it clear, keep it concise. Remember, they don't need a huge biography because they can actually click on your LinkedIn profile and get a pretty good sense of you. So say why you're reaching out. Why you're reaching out to them can be powerful. So I'm reaching out to you because I'm so inspired by your work experience. I'm reaching out to you because we're both Simmons College alum. Those kinds of things can be really, really helpful there. So think about that. Get comfortable with the fact that not everyone's going to get back to you. I know it can seem like how hard is it to respond to a LinkedIn message, but you have to put yourself in their shoes. Sometimes people just don't have the capacity to respond to requests like this. So that's okay. We're going to make peace with that. And that's why it has to be part of our successful plan to make sure that we are asking enough people to yield the right results. So if we are, if we're hoping to speak to 4 or 5 people, we might want to make 8 or 10, plan to reach out to 8 or 10 people. You don't have to do it all at once. You can kind of see, you can reach out to 2 or 3, see what you hear back. And then of course, reach out to additional folks as needed. But it's just the way it goes. Not everyone is going to respond to you, and it's not personal. It's not rejection. It's just other people have only so much capacity to respond to this stuff. So again, I've touched on this a little bit, but I think it's really worth repeating, is to bridge the gap between the online and in real life situations. So if you are casting a wide net, if you're maybe a career changer looking for information and conversation and informational interviews, instead of just starting on LinkedIn and researching anyone, think about really focusing. You can search by level of connection. I like to search using the universities I've attended so that I can say, hey, we are both graduates of so-and-so. That has been really effective. So even though you have access to all kinds of people through the miracle of the internet, a lot of times it helps to build trust and rapport and speed and response if there's something in common that you have. So start with those folks that you have in common. And like I said, we have some templates over on our website. So if you go to workwonderscoaching.com, you scroll about halfway down, there's a Get My Resources button, and you can click, fill out the form, and you'll get access to our career resource library where we have some templates for you there. Thank you all for tuning in. If you are a job seeker and you're in the Boston area, we are doing another round of Uncomplicate Your Job Search later this month, June 19th, with Wonder Woman of Boston, and we'd love to have you there. I'm taking requests, so if there's something you'd like me to chat about on these afternoon Instagram lives, you can definitely let me know. All right, hope you have a really great rest of your day. Thanks for watching.